8th grade, I started playing tenor outside of school. And, yeah, so.
Cool. Good. Are you a sophomore?
Freshman.
You're a freshman. All right.
Turning sophomore, but in in a week.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
You graduate from 9th grade. Congratulations. Awesome. Well, let me sneak behind you and shut this door here, or the window rather. So we live. Has a great advantage to living right behind a elementary school here, in that there's no houses right behind us, and you never have to worry about them ever building anybody. So I don't have to disturb any neighbors behind me. So
I love that. We have no neighbors on one of our sites, but it's a golf course, actually a road, and then the golf course on the other side of the road. So, but we do get golf balls somehow. I don't know how we do it, even though we're literally across a 4-lane road.
it shows the level of some of the golfers, I suppose.
Exactly right.
Cool. Okay. Good, awesome. So first of all, Kyer, am I pronouncing that right? Cool. So one basic thing you want to do, and I don't know if you normally, I actually normally sit down when I play in sections, obviously, but given our room here, better to stand up. Generally, when we play, it makes it easier, and it ultimately makes our sound better if when you just, as far as the direction of where your neck strap is, you want to kind of, as you play, whether you're sitting or standing, you want to have your head kind of just resting comfortably on top of your head, on top of your shoulders. So because when you do that or that or that, it changes the airflow into your horn, and it really does mess up with the sound a little bit. So wherever you're comfortable, it seems like you're kind of going down to it a bit, you know. So when I play, I'm kind of just there. And it just makes it much easier just to get the air to flow, you know. So, having said all that, I would bring your neck strap up a little bit.
Okay.
And, you know, there are a lot of neck straps out there, but exactly what you're doing is a good reason why you should talk to Rusty about a neck strap that's maybe a little bit more suitable.
Okay.
Or a little more, you know. No, I'm saying for you. I mean, just to make it easier. Because like with this, I can, and it's really super simple. So these, I mean, I'm just so used to a non-padded. I kind of like the non-padded. My neck won't eventually, but I do non-padded neck strap, because that way, with those, the horn tends to bounce a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And it creates a little instability. So, you know. Just,
I tend to like bump into things pretty easily. So.
Right. Yeah. So there's that. So just, you know, playing is all about being comfortable when you do it. You know, having having your setup, which seems fine. If you're studying with Rusty, I'm sure he's got you with the right mouthpiece and the right reed strength and all that stuff. So it's all cool. So do me a big favor and just play your G for me. Good. I'd still bring your neck strap up a little teeny bit more.
It really, I don't think it can go that much further. It kind of goes, yeah, this is.
Oh, I see it doubles up there, doesn't it? Oh, okay. All right, well, we can deal with it.
I know, actually, you tied a knot in it at some point. And
To make sure.
Yeah, you should do that.
Well, that might make it.
Take it. Just unhook it. Unhook this.
Okay.
Here, grab the horn and let your dad
grab
take
the
the next
horn.
step.
Well, now I've got to put this down. Let's see.
It looks like it's still got a little room to play out there a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I would actually need to shorten it all the way, or lengthen it all the way and then tie a knot. But
well,
let's do it.
There you go. I mean, just
do it.
Well, that'll make it way too long.
Yeah, I'll make it too short.
Yeah, it's fine for now.
Okay.
It's okay. There you go. Cool. Okay, so easier actually on a B. Play a B for me. What I want to work on is just, you know, making sure that you're getting the sound that, you know, the biggest sound, you know, that you can get. So B. Good, awesome. So you know that whenever you start any phrase, anything, you want to start, unless you really intend to start with just a breath. It's always way more efficient to start with a little articulation, just a little T. Has Rusty gone over that with you?
Actually, yeah, recently.
Really?
But,
Okay.
well, just not, we haven't like covered it or anything.
Cool.
But
Okay.
he did mention
So it doesn't mean that you've got to attack the first note, but it just, because like when you're playing in band and you want to make an entrance, you want to make sure that the note sounds exactly when it's supposed to and not late, you know. So basically, it's like you're driving a car and you've got the air as your gas and the tongue is your brake pedal, and so you've got them both down, and then when you release the reed with the tongue, the sound just comes right out. So try that for me and just play a couple B's and just have them come right exactly out with the articulation. Good, awesome. Yeah, sounds like that's going on just great. Awesome. So one thing I had thought of for you that would be kind of generic is, I mean, just some, I'm sure again you're doing things like this with Rusty, but these kinds of major scale, the thing about playing for me, Kyer, is just, whenever I practice, I'm always practicing for control, not for speed. You know, anybody can wiggle their fingers around, but being able to really control what you do. You know, it's all about practicing slower, you know, because again, anybody can move their fingers around, but it's all about how cleanly you can go from one note to the next. And by practicing too fast, you don't hear all the little flubs or whatever that are going on, you know. So practicing slow, and then practicing also with the metronome, and just making sure that you've got real control. I always feel that if you don't practice these, like any kind of exercise or anything in time, if you don't practice with the metronome, you're almost like doing yourself more harm than good, because you're kind of instilling like bad, well, you're kind of instilling not having control over what you're doing. For instance, like sometimes we tend to rush going from open C sharp to a D, you know, and unless you hear that metronome compared to what you're playing, you'll never know, you know, or if you do, you know, I mean, most people don't, because it's a bit imperceptible, like when you're practicing, until you start playing, and then you hear yourself back and go, oh wow, every time I go to a D from a C sharp, I'm rushing, you know. So I'll bring out the metronome in a second, but let's play a little bit of this, can we? This is just a major scale exercise. I'll play it for you, and just this line up here.
Okay.
Go ahead and play that at any tempo you want. Good, awesome. So that's perfect case in point. So I'm not checking my text. I'm my metronome here. So now do it at this really slow tempo, where that's on the eighth note. Do, 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 do. And the little thing I was talking about was when you went from the D to the B, and you get, you know, it's all about making sure that the other 5 fingers, you know, 2, 3 in the left hand and 1, 2, 3 in the right hand, all come up, you know, and the octave key all come up at the same time. So try it for me one more time, and begin your note with the articulation like that. Okay. See, I busted it before you even did it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, go. Good. And tongue every note for me, okay? Give an articulation for everything. 1, 2, 3. Good. So the other thing, another really important aspect of playing, and really, I don't know, 80% of just gaining technique on the instrument. The goal of practicing is not only being able to go from one note to the next note cleanly, but to be able to do it with any combination of articulation that is presented to you. You know, you probably, I'm sure you've already like seen some music and had Justin say, "Oh, well, be careful because that note has a staccato over it, or that note has a tie, leading into it, or whatever." And even though the notes that you're playing without the articulations feel comfortable, when you start trying to add the articulation, it's like a whole other thing, right? So when you practice any kind of like generic exercise like this, it's always really great to come up with different like articulation combinations. Like for instance, like just now we were tonguing each note, but if you were to staccato each note, well. Let's try that, okay? Without the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, do that again. Just do a little bit by yourself. Good, good. So, you don't want to change anything at all except your tongue. And you want the tongue to be poised right by the reed so that it moves as little as possible. So you're kind of going ha, ha, ha with the air. Air doesn't change at all. It's whenever you play, another big Eric point, you don't want to, we're always, from one breath to the next breath, we're approaching our playing the same way you would approach, as far as the air is concerned, the same way you would approach one note. So if you play one long note, and then if I were to now play, I'm not changing as far as this is concerned, as far as this is concerned, as far as this is concerned. It just feels like you're just pushing the whole time. But, and the only thing that's happening is that your tongue is stopping the reed from playing while it's on the mouthpiece. So do it again, and it'll affect the sound. It'll make it way better. So try to just going. And as you do, kind of flex your diaphragm a little bit, and don't allow it to change between notes. Good. It got better towards the end. Yeah, as you think about it, just do it one more time and just try to think about your tongue and think about not changing your air and allowing your throat to get all messed up and all that. Great. Now try, do it right with that. And do it a little softer so you can hear that. Good. Awesome. So I spent, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I've spent like literally the last 40, let me count them up here, started when I was 9 years old, I'm 61 now. I started 52 years working on this exact thing. Just trying to have total control with my fingers and with my tongue and the combinations to match, to have control over the time. So, I mean, there's nothing that will make your playing grow, faster than doing exactly this, because it's just such a great control builder. Just being able to match the metronome and have that kind of control over your fingers and over your articulation. You have to, work together. So let's do that with this guy. Ready? And yeah, approach it the same way. 1, 2, 3. Good. Let's do the key of F here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So as we go a little higher on the horn, like the C in particular, unless we support that note, those notes up there, the sound's going to go a little flat. the pitch is going to go a little flat. So it's not just about like biting harder. That solves a little bit of the problem. Biting is an extreme way to say it, just using a little bit more support. But just supporting down here. It's amazing. We could spend the entire hour just talking about air because it just makes all the difference when you play down low, you play up high, and the pitch and everything. If you feel like you're a little out of tune with your neighbor in band, if you just put a little bit more air forward in your horn without playing any louder, it makes all the difference. It's like, it's like trying to drive a race car with unleaded gas. It just doesn't work. You got to put the right kind of fuel in the engine. You got to put the right kind of, and so for that engine, it's about the air, So just make sure that you're just filling up the horn even up on top. So play that high C for me. Great. Awesome. So you got no problem playing in tune with that note. It sounds good too. So now the thing is, if you're starting from down here and you're leading up to it, make sure that the pressure doesn't drop when you get up top there. If it drops, then so does the pitch. Cool. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Good. Awesome. Yeah. Great. So now, what I was talking about in terms of like changing up like the combinations, if you were to, and you're going to take this with you, if you just take this and, like play through all the, it covers all 12 keys. So some of these keys and some of these keys might be a little foreign, maybe not. Are you used to playing in D flat and F sharp and some of them?
Not used to playing them though.
But yeah, good.
But,
the cool thing about playing in those keys is that, you may or may not have heard of Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law says that the things that we don't expect to happen will for sure happen at some point, And so, so the keys that you don't expect to have to play in, suddenly, something really important is going to come up and it's going to be in some weird key. There's only 12 though, so it's really, it's not that daunting, and it really is just a matter of, like, for instance, when you play A flat, you're just always thinking every time I come to a B flat, an E flat, an A flat, or D flat, then those notes are flat, So, so you're a smart girl, you can just keep that in the back of your mind always. So, let's go back to C for this. And one combination, for instance, could be like, say, 2 notes staccato and 2 notes slurred, like. Let's try that together. Okay, so 2 staccato, 2 slurred. 1, 2, 3. Good. Let's do the opposite. 2 slurred, 2 staccato. 1, 2, 3. Right. Awesome. And make sure the air, continues through from that as well. Cool. Awesome. So there's one other thing that a couple other things actually, but I'm going to print out the B flat part real quick. So lick 13 and lick 22. So hold on here. I have an online school, and thanks to that, I've got like more material. Make a shake stick out.
So when do you go back on tour?
Tomorrow. Well, tour. I
Where are you going? Yeah.
Well, just Denver. I was 22 and I just have a show in Denver tomorrow night, and then I was in Japan for 3 weeks, which I do that I go to Japan a lot, but a 3-week tour is more than usual. to say the least. And so, and so I go to Denver, and then I come back on Saturday. I'm actually guest soloing with OSHA, the Orange County High School of the Arts.
Yeah, sure.
And then I go back to the airport and fly to Texas and have a show near in Corpus Christi, I guess it is, or something.
Sure, on the beach, along the beach.
Somewhere down there, yeah.
Okay.
And then I go to London, playing for 4 nights, and then my wife and I take about a week vacation. So that'll be fun.
That'll be nice, London.
Yeah.
It's about the right time to go too.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, so.
Yeah, exactly. But I tend to travel a lot. And I'm trying to be a little more, more selective. But I play in some groups like Chick Corea's band, and we, that's one of the ones that I like to, say no to. But over the years, we've traveled a whole bunch and won a bunch of awards and all kinds of good stuff.
I told a friend of mine that Kyer's going to get a lesson from you, and he freaked out. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe
That guy's terrible.
No, exactly the opposite. But the fact that he's a huge jazz aficionado, so he was very, very excited to hear about that. So.
Oh, cool, awesome. Okay, let me jump in the house and get those sheets up here.
So, Kyer, when you're blowing, how come I can hear your blowing, but I can't hear his? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Maybe because I've not really done that before. So I need...
The staccato thing? Where you're tongue in it, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't done what we're doing before?
No.
Really?
No.
So this is really helpful then? Yeah. Oh, I'm excited about that. I figured I was waiting for you to get into something that you hadn't done yet. But this is new. I'm excited for you. I can totally see how the neck issue right now, you are really reaching out for your neck when you're doing that. And so
It'd be a good idea again.
I can see when he's playing
it kind of it
well,
stretches out, and so if it pulls back, then it also pulls
it's adjustable,
away, so,
right?
Yeah.
But what I notice is that he looks comfortable when he's playing because his head is vertical, and you look like you're straining because you got your head out. So yeah, it's clear as day.
As far as
the neck placement, yeah.
Right, yeah. Not too radical, but it's yeah.
Well, it may not seem radical, but it looks radical when I have her I can see her profile here, and it looks like she's straining. So, compared to you're vertical and you just look relaxed. So
see, okay. So let's play this. Okay. So it goes a little high. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So hopefully, I don't know. I've been to Rusty's place. I don't know how to read. Rusty's on like a 5-week vacation. So,
oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good for him.
Yeah.
So here we go. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, so let's play along with the band here. And that is this one. Yep. So I believe it's this track. Yes. Okay. So here we go. And 1 down. definitely want to be. We're really multitasking. Where we're playing what we're playing, but we're also playing along with whoever else is playing. So and the time is part of what we're looking for, right? So so a couple times you get a little ahead. Totally normal, totally okay. But that's like part of the reason why we want to practice with the metronome also, because it gets us used to not only concentrating on what we're doing, but also concentrating on who we're doing it with, you know, and what other, you know, source. So when you're playing with a band, you're listening to, you know, you're locking in time-wise, locking in pitch-wise, locking in, you know, harmonically and all that stuff too. So do it one more time, and as you're playing, listen to the elements in the band. I'll turn it up a little bit. So listen without playing. Listen to the band and listen for the elements that are creating the tone. So one thing right away is the hi-hat. The other thing is the bass. Piano is kind of dancing around and creating like the feel, and so is the snare drum. You know, little things here, all that. So those things help us when we start defining the feel, and like you're automatically playing it like swing as you should, perfect, because you're playing with the swing track, and you can tell that it's not like a Latin track where the eighth notes or the subdivisions are exactly, you know, even. Boom, 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 boom. This is a swing feel, so it's boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. That's how we're playing it. That's why you're playing the eighth notes. Great, awesome. But now we want to make sure that we're really kind of splitting our attention so that we, you know, lock in right with the band. So I'll turn it up one notch and try it one more time. Here is to make sure that every note speaks. I won't say anything more important than that the whole lesson, you know. So it's certainly as we're playing melodies, like some notes come out louder. I mean, some notes are more pronounced because they're articulated or whatever. But there's a difference between certain notes that are less emphasized and notes that just don't speak because we're not supporting enough. So it should be more like. And a lot of that, Kyer, comes from making sure that the air is always flowing through. Because a lot of things in playing create like extra resistance in the horn. And unless we're supporting, that resistance is going to end up like not allowing certain notes just to speak, you know. And even notes that you intend to tongue, maybe a note that is because like the interval from one note to the next is like really wide, and it's just really hard to get to that note. Or you're going down to a note from like say a B to another B an octave lower. It's going to be hard to get that bottom note to speak unless you support it. And then also making sure that even if you're articulating, like you're playing a staccato note or an accented note or whatever, you want the action of the tongue to be quick. So you don't want the tongue to linger on the reed unless you intend it to, but it doesn't usually happen. For the most part, when I'm doing this, it's like that's like probably the most important articulation. Just thinking D, not thinking D, yeah, but also just doing the D approach. So say D D D D. Exactly. So you notice how your tongue just sort of bounces off the roof of your mouth. Same thing on your horn. Playing an F sharp for me and try that. So the notes, you're hearing the articulation, but the notes need to be as connected as they can be, just like that. So together. Good, awesome. So I'm hearing kind of a lo, 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 lo. So try to make it even more definite. D, 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 D. So it's pretty light, but definite enough so you hear a definite, you know, D, 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 not D, D, D. Awesome, awesome. I would practice the heck out of that. I mean, just with all these exercises, because that is like the jazz artic, you know. You know, all that you can't play a smooth and articulated line without that exact articulation. And you can do it. A lot of people just kind of can't get it or don't get it for a long, long time. So that's great. So let's play this line together.
So your tongue is busy when you're doing just what you just did.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
For you. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Which is why you get that really clear note on each one of those.
Right, but you're not tonguing every note. You're tonguing all, you know, I mean, every line is different, but you're tonguing the notes that are either emphasized, like ba-do-da, like you're doing naturally. You're tonguing those notes, or the note, like this pinnacle note of this phrase. You know, the top note obviously is a emphasized note because it's much higher, and it's kind of the, you know, leading up to it and down to it. It's, you know, the pinnacle. And then in jazz articulation in general, we tend to tongue the upbeats. Boo, ba-do, 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 ba-do. That's the kind of the swingy, jazzy way to do it. So, but it all starts just with the technique of your articulation. Rusty can certainly take it from there, but just being able to do it, you know, you can't make a good sugar cake without sugar. You know, you can decide where to put the sugar, but unless you have the sugar, you can't make the cake, you know. So, weird analogy, I know, but you know. Yeah. Cool. So let's do it one more time with the track, okay? Actually, by yourself. 1, 2, ready. Comes out by yourself. And go. Go, try again. Yeah, perfect. There you go.
She moved more with her notes, because I think one of the things that when I see jazz players play, they're actually moving their head when there's a note that they've got to hit, or they move their body slightly. There's definitely something where they're having to really accentuate a note or accentuate, you know, the ba-doo, ba-doo, right? Their body's actually moving with that.
That's right.
It's very, very elegant. And when Kyer's this is not a criticism, but she's not, I think she's scared to move because people will notice.
Oh.
So,
well, John Coltrane didn't move a whole lot, but yeah.
But even if it was a little bit, is my point.
Right. Don't be afraid to move.
Exactly.
You know, you know, you can be Boney James. Cool, so we're going to improvise. Cool, it's really simple. Improvising, everybody talks about how hard it is. Piece of cake, no problem. So the scale that this whole particular song is based on is just our E minor scale, E, Dorian minor. But E minor scale, E Dorian minor is the same as, you know.
Is it okay? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's-
It's the same as D major.
Yeah.
It's like playing a D major scale, but starting and ending on E on the second note of the scale. You know.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first mode, well, second mode officially. So, and the name of the second mode is the Dorian mode. And so it's just a very simple. So let's put that together. Okay. So it's just that scale right there. E.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No problem. Good. Backwards. Right. So I wrote the whole notes on the first note, third note, the fifth note, and the seventh note. That creates the chord, and those are the main notes of the chord. So let's play that: the root, the third, the fifth, and the seventh. Right. So I can improvise over this just using those four notes, and it will sound pretty good. So, just one minute. Actually, I'll start you off. 1, 2, 3. That's okay. I got better. Right.
Not the higher octave. Or
No,
not the...
definitely use a higher octave. As a matter of fact, you're already
okay.
ahead of me. So now, I want you to use any of these notes in any octave. So you can go. You can go down there too, whatever. But feel free to use any of these notes. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Was that your first improvised solo?
No.
Is that the first time you've ever improvised? No.
I've learned.
You've been doing it.
Well, yeah.
She's been practicing at home for
Good.
sure.
Awesome. Great.
Rusty, I've taken lessons from Rusty.
Yeah.
That's what
And he's covering improvising.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay. I could tell
A little
because
bit.
you're a rock star already. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, the reason that I wrote the root and the third and the fifth and the seventh as whole notes and the other notes as filled in notes or chord notes or whatever is that the main notes of any chord are always the arpeggio, which is the root, third, fifth, and seventh, right? And then the other notes are scale tones, chord scale tones, right? So you can think of the chord tones of the root, third, fifth, seventh, the arpeggio, as like the target notes. So it's good to begin a phrase, not that you have to, but it's good to begin your phrase and end your phrase on one of those four notes because they identify the sound of the chord really well. And then you can use the other notes to go from one chord tone to the next, You can also use chromaticism, that's fine. But people always say, well, how do I get a little deeper into a chord? How do I do more things with it? One thing is that if you begin and end any phrase with a chord tone, then whatever happens in the middle, sounds good because it creates, you've heard the phrase tension and release, So you have, if you create some tension with with whatever you want to do, as long as you resolve it, or tension and resolve might be a better way to say it, then it sounds connected. If you don't, then it sounds disconnected, harmonically. So, but the main thing that people don't talk about is just the way that you present your solo. Whether you're playing just over one chord or you're playing some crazy tune with a million chords or whatever, it's all about just being very, being super assured about what you do and make sure every note just is intended. So that is the difference between a novice player, quite frankly, and an advanced sounding player. Is just the way you present your playing, the way you present your notes. How definite you are with what you're playing. And so improvisation is so, you can play the most the thing that the books all say, no, that's wrong. You can't play an F over a D major 7 chord. It's going to sound terrible. No, it's going to sound terrible if you make it sound terrible, but it can sound really good if you put it in the right context. And and by doing so, just being really definite in what you do. So do that again. Let me play a little bit myself, and I'll try to demonstrate that, and then have you do the same thing. And I tell you, I don't do a lot of judging in high school festivals, but I definitely do a lot of guest artisting at festivals. So I hear a lot of bands, and the soloists that really stand out are the ones who do exactly that, who are just every note that comes out is just thought of, and if you don't think of anything, if you're not thinking of anything, don't play. Using space is a really important element. So. So I'm gonna send you home with this this track, this part, and I'll email you. Send me your email, and I'll send you the track too, so you have something to play along with. It'll be fun. And then one other thing I wanted to play with you is just this. This. Let's read through this a little bit. It's just a little blues solo, and it'd be, we can kind of mess with this as well, but let's read through it, okay? So, and the first thing you look at when you read something new is the, yay, Rusty is good. 1, 2, 1, 2, Good, awesome. So this is tricky. So you've got to. Well, I always advocate that when we're playing, you don't change a whole lot in terms of like support. Like even though here's a great example of what I was talking about, like a big interval jump down. But we do. You know what it feels like to play a D. You've played a D 1,000 times. And you know what it feels like to play B. So when it's time to play the D, you kind of have to set your body up ready for it. Like there's no radical changes, but you just want to make sure that because if you're still thinking B when your fingers are fingering D, then bad things are gonna happen. It's just not gonna come out. So just play like B B. Awesome. Good. So let's play this. 1, 2. Good. And be ready for the B and the C. Okay, so you're most important. 1, 2, pop. Chord note here. One more time from the pickup. 1, 2, 3. Good. Awesome. So this one also actually comes with a track, but it's a little faster. Let's see. Blues solo. And same thing, I can send this to you as well. But let's see how fast this is. Louder. Sorry. Oh, terrible. Let's give it a try. Actually, let's play through it one time. Play it one time on our own, just to build the tempo up a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. So that's confusing, but I gave the courtesy accent down there. So that's a B flat and that's a B natural. 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, a little slower. 1, 2, 10. From here, 1, 2, go. So get used to that's a long jump, sorry, but D to D is a crazy one. From here, 1, 2, go. Right, so it's a matter of just getting your fingers to do that on the left hand step. Good, awesome. Yeah, whenever you come across any kind of little phrase or lick or whatever that's tricky, just isolate it and go over it and over it and over it until it feels smooth. You know. Good. One more time from here. 1, 2, go. Good. Right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Awesome. Great. So yeah, it's just a matter of just building up. Let's try it one last time. Try it, see if we can go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a handful. Good. A little slower. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Good. Awesome. So the target tempo is this guy. I think there's only 4. Well, let's, for fun, let's see if we can. Let's check our tempo. Not that much faster, actually. So I'll turn it up a little bit. Okay, so let's just try to keep up as much as we can. Here we go. Ready? And. That's just something fun to play along with, and the Dorian thing is just a fun thing to work on, just improv wise, because it's one chord. And then the major exercise is something that I think you've had fun with. Last thing I want to give you is just these crazy exercises, which are it's just 2 pages out of this book. With somebody who looks very much like my son. And so these exercises are strictly like they're called finger busters for a reason, and they're just like technique builders. And so as you see, they start off in a very mild mannered range of the instrument, all very safe and everything, and then suddenly, wow, they go really high, and then suddenly these are just very angry. Very bad mood, whatever, these are very, very low. So they're just, as a, comprehensively, they really are good technique builders, but you can take like one at a time. The idea is to repeat each one 4 times. So let's read through just this one, okay? 1 and 2 and then, awesome. So that's the idea. And just like I was talking about with the major scale things, changing up the articulation, like every so often with these, decide to staccato them all or create some combination like we did before. The idea is that it just there's certain things about practicing. I always talk about in clinics about the fact that you can consolidate. Even if you've only got 15 minutes to practice, as long as ideally you've got a little bit more time, but you can get a lot done in 15 minutes. You can get a whole lot done in a half hour. You can get twice as much done in an hour. But whatever you have time for, consolidate it. And so this is a very concise, consolidated like routine that you can do, even if, just doing what we just did. But you don't want to play you don't want to play when you're out of breath, and you certainly don't want to play when you're really fatigued. You want to let the blood flow back into your I'm sure in your diaphragm and your fingers and everything. But being careful about the amount of time you take a break for, and ideally over that 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever, continue to play. And just by doing that, it's kind of like, you run around the track twice and you've done a half mile. If you do the whole thing all at one time, you're getting more benefit than if you run a little bit and stop and send a text and a little more and make a phone call and run a little more. So I mean, you've got to stop when again to take rests. But doing this kind of thing is really a great technique builder. And then also while I advocate practicing both like new material for obvious reasons, but also practicing things that is familiar, so that you can just like, if you're in the gym and you're lifting 10 pounds, you're familiar with what that 10 pounds feels like. But then, doing the same thing over and over again each day, you're going to get stronger and stronger. So it's a little bit of that analogy. And then, but these are, they're varied enough so that as you go through them, even if you just stick with the first 10, the first 25 or whatever, just page 1 or whatever. If you were to do page 1 like you just did every day with a metronome, and not faster than what you can control, again, just really practicing for what you can control, keeping the tempo really straightforward, and listening for whenever you have a little flub. I wrote them with that in mind, with certain things like the F to F sharp issue, the C to B issue, the left hand, things where or C sharp to D in the middle of the horn, things that we naturally have to work on to smooth out, So those are all built into these intentionally, so that, so we can address them, But it takes me about 7 minutes to go from here to here, repeating each one 4 times. It's my little warm up sometimes. And then in the book, there's like another. This is in each chapter there are 5 parts, and this is part 3 of the first chapter. There's 6 chapters, so there's 6 of these series in the book, so there's like actually 300 of these things. So when I'm really feeling incredibly masochistic, I go through all 300, and it takes a little bit of time. I used to practice when I was out of college. I practiced a good 8-9 hours every day, and I had 3 books like this that I played cover to cover, the entire books cover to cover, and I was just completely OCD about it. You know, just wouldn't, you know, if I got to the last couple of pages of the 3rd book and couldn't finish because I had to go to work or whatever, I'd be like, oh man, I didn't practice enough today. You know, I didn't get it done. You know, that's a problem. You know, you gotta seek therapy at that point. I have this online school, and this is actually, that's why I wrote exercise of the week 43. And a few of my students, was one guy, we video back and forth. That's kind of the premise of the school. And I've got this one guy who's like super into it. And he filmed the whole thing. It took about 20 minutes for him to get to hear, but he filmed the entire thing because he wanted me to see the whole thing. I'm like, I don't need to see the whole entire thing, dude. but it's fun. The reason it's fun is that if you do it the way I'm describing, you really feel the difference. And that's what got me so motivated into practicing so much. And that's what motivates me to practice now, is that if you're practicing the right things in the right way, most importantly, then you really notice a big difference.
And playing at the concerts are easy, right? It's like, that's one of the things they talked about with soccer. You know, she's also a soccer player, but when they say is like, practice so hard so that the game is easy.
Right. As long as you're not, you don't want to practice so much that it's painful, and then,
Right. But it should be that you are so in shape, that you are so confident in your handling, your ball skills, and all these other things, so that when the game day shows up, it's just you're playing.
Yeah.
You're just having fun.
Yeah. Being prepared, and that definitely takes the nerves away more than just being prepared. Reed feels comfortable, and you're familiar with music, and your fingers are limber, and you're connected with your instrument. Yeah. Okay. So any questions? I haven't really asked any questions. Anything I can answer for you that you've been thinking about?
Not that I can think of right now.
Cool. Well, I mean, you're in such good hands with both Rusty, and
Padilla,
and Justin, that's amazing. I haven't. He's asked me to come up to Los Al a couple of times. I haven't had a chance, haven't been able to. But I went up to his school. He was at the junior high school. What was that?
Oh, that's where she went too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you have him there too?
Yeah. I had for 1 year, and then Mr. Harold.
Mr. Harold came in.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And you guys did. Was it I think your mom wrote me. You guys went to a festival recently. The school did, and did really, really well.
They took first place in their division.
RCC, but it
RCC,
was,
yeah.
I'm in Jazz 3 at the school.
There's 3 jazz bands?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
3, yeah.
Dang.
Plus, how many combos?
What?
3 combos.
Oh my God. Really?
There's 2 combo A's, yeah.
2 combo
And then a
A's
B.
even.
And then technically there's a workshop combo.
And they win all the time, right? But it was really cool because
I was in intermediate.
yeah.
Like pretty low because at least we weren't in novice.
Yeah.
And she did her first solo in that set that ultimately they got first place in. So
right
it was pretty cool. And right now she's only done 2 solos. One of them was last night, and it was great. I mean, we enjoyed listening to it. So.
Very cool.
And we
last
recorded
night, was there a concert last night?
End of year.
Cool.
End of year concert.
Nice. Oh, very cool. Do you enjoy it? Is it fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit scary, but.
Yeah, but then you do it and it's great. It becomes addicting.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it is too.
Yeah. Good. Awesome. Well, you know how to reach me if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer anything. And thank you for making the drive all the way down here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, have your mom shoot me your email just so I got it on my computer, and I'll send you these 2 tracks so you can play along with them. You got this, got that.
I can give you my card. That way you have something.
Perfect. Okay. And we need the alto parts, so put those. And there you go. Voila.
Thank you.